Hey everybody, this is Katarina, also known as the ExtraTomboy on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you've been here more than once, go ahead and click the subscribe button and also give me a big thumbs up. I know you've already been thinking about it, so you might as well just do it anyway. Today, I wanted to talk to you about what it takes to become a manager. This is probably one of my most asked questions. Becoming a manager is just not as simple as maybe it seems. A lot of people become a talent manager because they wanted to be in the industry, but they maybe didn't have what it took to become an actress or an actor. I work specifically with influencers and had worked with artists previously. The way that I started out as a manager was I was in college. I was living in San Diego at the time that I got this idea that I wanted to start my own blog. This blog was about hip-hop history. I didn't want to be like the blogs that talked about all of the drama. For me, what mattered to me was the music and the quality of music and cadence, and how hip-hop got its start was very important to me. I was born in Chicago, and growing up in that area, I was always around music and always around such a creative environment and space, and the history of music for me has always been something in my life. I got into management because I started this blog. This blog attracted viewers, and I had studied up on having a successful blog relied on having a successful Twitter account. So I went on my Twitter account, which I hadn't been on since 2011. There were like thousands of pages that I was following. I didn't even know that I was following them. I had to go through and unfollow every single person. I had to, basically start from the ground up. I deleted all of my old posts and just went from there because I was in like high school and I was posting just like stupid shit. So I just deleted everything. I just started, following people that were hip hop artists. Because of that, I had like smaller artists reach out to me. And then back then it was like really popular that artists would send out automatic DM when you would add them. I would DM them back because I thought that, they're personally messaging me like, hey, thanks for following me. And so I got this idea that I wanted to start reviewing underground artists or small town artists on my blog. I went once a week and I would write about, new artists and unknown artists. And I started gaining like quite a bit of a following on Instagram for doing these particular blogs, as well as doing just like every Friday I would listen to all of the music that came out. I'm talking every mixtape, every album, I would listen to all of it, and I would just consume content constantly. I would constantly consume content. I would listen to 8 hours a day of interviews. I would listen to all of the albums twice over before I would do the review, and then I also was constantly reading book after book after book about hip-hop culture and hip-hop in general. And I was watching documentaries when I had time too. So I was 100% invested in this and making this my career as a blogger. Basically, it had gotten to the point where I was big enough to where I was gaining I had 15K followers on Instagram, and I was doing really well. And I had met a couple of artists that were small town artists in Tennessee. I hung out with them. We're still super cool. We haven't talked in a few years, but I know it's all love on both sides. They both wanted to be in the music industry, but because of where they lived, it kind of was really difficult for them to be out here and make that happen. Closest area to where they lived in Tennessee was Atlanta, and the Atlanta music scene is very different. When I made the move to Atlanta to be 100% invested in the music industry and be a blogger out there, I was in for a really rude awakening because of how the industry worked. I had essentially gained some connections in LA because I would come up here once a month. It was that I was coming up here to try and go to mixers and go to networking events and do things like that. By the way, this time frame is all from 5 or 6 years ago now. I was in college at the time, and so I couldn't just be up here every weekend, but I would make it a point to be here at least once a month. I would spend the entire weekend just networking and getting to know people. Then decided that I was going to move out to Atlanta, and I had contacted my dad and let him know that I wanted to move to Atlanta, and he told me about his friend that lives in Atlanta, and I ended up basically calling him and going and staying and living with him. So I ended up staying with him. He lived about 30 miles outside of the city, and I had gotten a job offer to work for a record label. And when I had gotten to Atlanta, the record label was non-existent. So I kind of got shafted in the sense that I thought that I was moving out there for this giant opportunity. I thought that I was going to be in the music industry and as well as have a job. It was going to be the best of both worlds. I was totally screwed. I had $700 left to my name and I just didn't know what to do with myself. I ended up driving 30 miles to apply for a job at California Pizza Kitchen, which I had worked at in San Diego for about 3 years. I ended up getting hired there and I worked there for the 6 months that I lived in Atlanta. It was the absolute worst experience of my life. The restaurant had been robbed 3 times in the 6 months that I worked there. The manager literally didn't even know what half of the food was. He would yell at me constantly. January of 2017, I had had enough of living in Atlanta. I had had enough of roughing it and trying to make it in the industry. It just was too much and I felt completely broken and bare boned. And I had reached out to my friend's friend and he ended up becoming my boss. I had reached out to him on Facebook because I saw that they were hiring. This was at a MCN and I just thought this would be great. I'd be working at a talent agency. This is gonna be amazing. I ended up getting hired. To go from there, I started working at this talent agency or at this MCN. I didn't really know what it was like to be a channel manager. I didn't know the difference between channel manager and 360. I thought management was management and I didn't really like the way that they had everything set up because I was like the low form of manager and then the manager above me were the people that would take the really big channels, because if you were a small manager, network manager, you were not able to take the big channels because that was for the other people basically. Soon into working there, I started to realize a pattern. You got handed clients, but they also wanted you to sign clients as well, but they had a whole team that handled signing clients. It was just a lot. With working at a MCN, you work with a bunch of clients, you work on growing their channel. I was basically sent to work in the quote urban angle. I was given clients that were particularly difficult to work with. They were difficult to get brand deals because they weren't noted as brand friendly, and the entire system of the job that I worked at had them literally marked as not brand friendly. I felt as though it was because of the color of their skin, and ultimately it forced me to leave the job. I was extremely unmotivated when I was there. I felt like I had all these clients and I wanted to do so much for them, but I was totally restricted and unable to do anything for them at all. I felt basically trapped and slaved down to this place because I worked there literally 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, and on the weekends I was working, and once I would get home, my 1.5 hour commute on the drive home from the job to home, I was on the phone with a client, and then when I wasn't on the phone with my clients, I was literally on my computer just figuring out ways to work. I had a very close relationship with a lot of my clients, and they would always tell me, you're just so stressed out, you're always drinking, you're always upset, you are super unhealthy, we're really worried about you. And I never realized the toll that this position took on me until I left the job. Flash forward into VidCon. I ended up going to VidCon at this company because of this company. That was, when I was there, I just knew that it was my last couple of weeks. I couldn't do it anymore. I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I knew I was gonna stick it out and I knew it was gonna happen. So once we got back from VidCon, I ended up putting my 2 weeks in, and in the middle of July, it was my last ride for the company. So I ended up going up to my dad's house, and I spent 2 weeks up there just to kind of like clear my head and really bust my butt and get to work. By the grace of God, I was given clients that I just, I didn't know that I was going to be able to obtain. I didn't know that I was going to, still be working with people, and I just really worked so hard on everything that I've have today and everything that I had in the past to make this happen. I don't know how I made it out of the company without, severely damaging myself. And I had talked to one of the top tier managers at that company before I left, and he was like, you're done? Like, so you're over it? And And I just looked at him and I said, I think so. I don't think I can do this. I'm not comfortable doing something. I just felt like it wasn't right to me to be at this company. And he looked at me and he's like, well, if you're done, I mean, you know, what's the worst that could happen is you go get a job. It's been almost 2 years and I can, you know, gladly say, yes, I've had to get a job in between this time frame. I'm still a talent manager. I still have the majority of the clients that I started with when I left. I still have people reaching out to me. I'm still over here getting brand deals. I'm still over here thriving, making a lot more than whatever I would have made there. So, you know, I guess this message on this video here is, you know, whatever you put your mind to, you can do it. If you sit and you undoubtedly say, like, I'm not going to fail, I cannot fail, I'm successful, I'm amazing, I am the best manager that anyone has ever seen. If you tell yourself things like that every single day, you're putting that out to be manifested and to be put into the universe to come back to you, and you have that power. You know, talent management is not all it's cracked up to be all the time. Sometimes I really hate my clients, sometimes I love them. And sometimes it's frustrating, you know, you do get stuck in ruts and there are dry periods during times of talent management. But the thing is like at the end of the day, if this is what you know you want to do for the rest of your life, then this is, you know, this is it. That is how I became a talent manager. And the next video that I'm filming tonight is how to become a talent manager. All right, guys, if you liked this video, go ahead and comment below, ask any questions that you want. That really helps me out tremendously to know what to talk about the next week, asking any questions, and I will not only answer them, but I will also create a video about it. If you like me and you want to go ahead and subscribe, go ahead and click the links down below. Go ahead and thumbs up this video, as well as check out my Instagram and Twitter if you're interested. Thank you guys so much.